This is David with Corel Training.
This is Cassie Green from Apparelist.
This is Gordon and Firemark from the Entertainment Law Update.
And you're listening to
Two Regular Guys podcast.
Hosted by Terry Combs RG, Regular Guy, and Aaron Montgomery.
The place to be for industry news.
the best dad jokes on earth, along with relevant topics to apparel decorating.
Prepare for the ride.
All right, welcome into the show. It is Friday, September 22nd, 2023. I'm Terry Combs, and you can find me at terrycombs.com.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me over at Our Success Group. And my mission is to inspire you to build a business that you love. And Terry, today's topic is right in that wheelhouse, man. If you've got good standard operating procedures, if you are confident in your skills and knowledge, and your staff is confident, you're going to have a business that you love. So I'm excited. This is what we're going to talk about today. It's Terry and I here, and I love having this conversation with you, Terry, because you are a planning guy, you are a training guy, and you're also a procedures guy. So even with your junior yellow legal pad, you can still make it happen.
This is science, man.
That's right. I love it. It's science. All right. So yeah.
All right. Make sure you stay till make sure you stay till the very end for a little helping of the secret sauce. So I'm up this week with my thoughts on screen printing ink matching systems.
Nice. I'm looking forward to that. So screen printers, make sure you stay tuned. But anybody because having knowledge about the entire industry, I think, is really important. So even if you're not a screen printer, I can't wait to learn more here. So
because a lot of people are buying screen printing if you're not a screen printer. So
that's
it's good to have an understanding.
Yep, 100% true. 100% true. All right. Well, typically in this spot here, we would have some news, but Cassie's actually traveling, and she's our lone survivor of the shakeups and shifting going on out there in the media space. So here's the deal, though. I do want to just extend that invitation, just in case people were wondering. If you are welcome to join us, if you're a media outlet of some sort, or can share any news of any note. So I'm calling out to you guys, Screen Printing Magazine, Graphics Pro, and your new ownership group there, Impressions, whoever that is, or anyone else. We certainly love having Cassie join us. And she's awesome, and she's definitely filling the shoes for everybody. But, we'd like to spread this thing out so we continue to bring you multiple perspectives from our industry, multiple, people looking at different things in different areas. So Eric putting it up on screen there for us, for those that are tuned in the video portion, but for the podcast listeners, just reach out to us, info at 2 regularguys.com is where you'd reach out to us. But I guess a little news though, Terry, we were all just out. If you guys remember watching last week, we were all sitting there. I thought it went really well. We hot spotted from a phone. That was impressive. But Impressions Expo Fort Worth. What's the recap from there that we can share with folks, Terry?
Well, we certainly played a little bit of musical chairs as well, getting guests in, and sometimes two guests in, and so I thought that was fun. Busy show. I think all the vendors were really, really happy. I did my seminar on everything you see on the internet about DTG and DTF printing is wrong. Had over 50 people in the seminar, and luckily there wasn't anybody right after me, because after I said, okay, they're going to kick us out of here, people hung out for another 20 minutes asking questions. So I did the who's at their first trade show, and unlike some, it was probably 30% of the people raised their hand.
Oh, wow.
In recent days, it's been 60 or 70% of the people who raise their hand. But I think this is also a show that people historically go to every year out of Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's been there. It's kind of the stalwart, right? I mean, I can go back many, many, many years, and it's pretty much same weekend, same location. I think there was a little bit of moving maybe like 10 years ago, but I think over the last 10 years, it's pretty much been a stalwart in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember back in our U.S. Screen Days, Aaron, that we used to love to go to that show because from a vendor standpoint, it was an equipment buying show. People came
Yep.
there ready to place orders, and
Yep.
so
Yep.
that's
Well,
that's why the vendors are there, everybody.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. All the education, all the networking, all that other stuff only happens if people are buying equipment. So, or
And then,
supplies.
speaking of networking, you and Eric both attended the Equipment Zone Epson Jerseys Stalls event over at Acre Distillery, which was a lot of fun, and got together with a lot of folks over there and got the tour of the distillery and got to sample some of the goods and hear the history of downtown Fort Worth, which was kind of cool as well. So.
Yeah.
And then for me, I love going to Texas because my daughter lives outside of Dallas, and so I got to see the 4 grandkids there for a day. Then shot to Austin, see my other 2 grandkids there for a day, and I'm still tired.
I say that's a lot of moving, a lot of happening. So awesome. Yeah, it was good. The tour of the distillery was 7 shot glasses of no, it was really, really fun and really great opportunity to kind of connect. I had a really nice long conversation with Adrian Palmer, who's now with DTF, and I was talking what she's got going on over there, and so we should be seeing her. Actually, she said, she's hoping to be ready to kind of come back and before the end of the year. So that was great, and had other great conversations. I really appreciate all the work that Jay did to put that together. And Jay and I actually found some tacos, what he claimed to be. I might be a convert here, Terry. I know this is going to feel sacrilegious since there's a chicken wing right up there, or the other way. But these tacos were pretty darn good. So
yeah, and my first question to Jay was, what were they really good, or was it 2 a.m. I need a taco?
There may have been a little bit of both, but it was good times. All right. Well, anything else that you saw there in Fort Worth of note? I was there for the workshop that I did the day before, and it was very well attended, and it was a full day workshop. We started at 9, went all the way to 4. People were engaged the whole time. We had the afternoon was supposed to be hands-on, them pressing stuff after Joseph and from Magic Touch and RJ from Creo kind of showed them how the white toner systems worked. The power went out right as Joseph was starting.
Oh no.
It was, but to Joseph's credit, without power, he hit all 5 of the things that he wanted to show people. He just was talking super fast, and there was enough heat left in the heat press that they were able to make it work. So, and he was like stretching his shirts and still doing like the full, like it was, and it still worked out pretty good. So that was pretty impressive. And
Joseph's a real pro, so I believe that.
yeah. So that was impressive. And then I got invited to Hawaii, so we'll see if we can make that work out. I'm like, she's like, do you ever go to Hawaii? I'm like, I haven't, but I will. It's like, okay. I'm like, all right, send me pictures. Let's figure this out.
I'm not anti-Hawaii.
Yeah. And Todd, no, there will never be any conversion to blue cheese. I don't tell anybody. I do enjoy blue cheese every once in a while, just not with chicken wings. That's all. That's
well, that is quite the news. I did not realize that.
Yeah, like a good wedge salad with some blue cheese on it. Yeah, that's good. But chicken wings need ranch dressing. Let's be honest, folks.
and just to shift gears real fast, Aaron, you and I got the chance yesterday to reminisce a little bit about our early days at US Screen with the T-Jet. Equipment Zone did a webinar and had some of the industry folks on who've been around for quite a while, talking about the 19-year history of commercial DTG printing. So that was a lot of fun, and that'll be up on Equipment Zone's YouTube channel. You have to wait till the very end to see Aaron and myself, because we were the last interview, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And kind of following to that, I'm just looking for the date here, but we got to talk about the old T-Jet days. We're going to have our friend Scott Fresner joining us here on the Two Regular Guys in the not too distant future. I think it's the 3rd of November, if I recall. So we'll keep the good times rolling there. But just kind of understanding, there was a lot of talk about innovation. At least that's what stood out to me. And so continuing that conversation with Scott's going to be great. I'm looking forward to that. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in here. I think I saw Todd's comment there, but good morning to everybody. Cindy was checking in from Odessa, Texas early on. Good morning to Chuck. Jerry, good morning to guys that are regular, right? That's kind of tongue-in-cheek joke, right, Jerry? And then Kingsbury Craft, good morning. Rena, good morning. And Todd, good morning again. Tanya, thank you so much for being here. Make sure that you guys take a quick moment here and just go out there and share this with your friends. We're going to get into some what I believe are some gold nuggets here pretty quick. And you want to make sure that we have this rising tide lifts all boats mentality. So, hey, come on over. Come into the Two Regular Guys. Good morning, Michelle. So, Terry, it is that time, I believe, that where we participate in a dad joke. Now, I know we got a little clip that we'll play into in just one second, but I just want to kind of prepare people. This is from Eric, so it's really good. So are you ready for that? Do you think you're prepared for that, Terry?
I'm ready. Are you're doing the dad joke?
Yes,
right?
I'm okay. Ready to deliver. I'll do my best.
Awesome. Let's do it.
All right. All right, here it is. Where do bad rainbows go?
I don't know. Aaron, where do bad rainbows go?
To Prism. Yeah, it's a light sentence. Kind of gives them time to reflect.
that is totally an Eric joke.
It's perfect. Now, Todd, I have to apologize. I know that we took away some of but I'm sure that there will be more coming from Todd. So he's always good for a great follow-up. And so I'll be giggling while Terry's hitting the housekeeping portion here.
He's pondering as we speak. But before we dive in, thanks to everybody for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We need your voices. We would love to have the regulators participate in our show intros, and we've already started using some of them. Go to decorators.ink/intro and read a few sentences to be a part of every show. And we gotten a few, like I said, but don't be left out. We are always looking for new guests. So if you or anyone you know would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2, the number 2, regular guys, to book a future episode or email us at info@2, the number 2, regularguys.com with your show ideas. And I actually have a shirt that says 2, the number 2. I need to wear that on the show.
Yes,
if you're listening to the podcast version, we would love you sharing the Two Regular Guys podcast with all of your industry friends so they can become regulators too. And we would appreciate you giving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcast, YouTube Podcast, wherever you do your podcast listening, we are there. So please give us a review. And if you're joining us live right now, we would love to have your comments and questions, especially about what you're doing about training and your standard operating procedures as well.
Yeah, definitely. Excited to chat with the regulators about all that. Todd delivered. So he says there was for sure a pot of gold at the end of that one. So
that was a really good response, Todd.
And good to see you, Martha. Thanks for tuning in here. I got to see Martha out there in Fort Worth. So great to see you here on Two Regular Guys. All right, Terry. Well, let's dive into this topic. I'm really excited to do this with you. You're my go-to. I kind of already alluded to this earlier, but you're definitely my go-to for learning about establishing standards and keeping your employees up to speed and creating those processes. I know that's been a big part of what you've done over the course of your career as far as consulting and the work that you did in the different spots that you landed along the way. And as I also alluded to earlier, you do this all without the use of technology outside of a junior yellow legal pad. So it's pretty amazing now.
But production is still going to be running during the zombie apocalypse.
That's right. We can still get T-shirts from Terry once the zombie apocalypse. No, but I love that because sometimes we do get too deep into it, right? I talk to people about maybe doing a time study to see where their priorities are really falling. and oh, what should I use, this tool, blah blah blah, right? Yeah, there's tools out there that you can use, but easiest thing, and you taught me this, just take that yellow legal pad with you, jot down when you change tasks what time it was, and you've got your list. So anyhow,
Yeah.
this is also obviously an area that I love to talk about as I get to work with new businesses, and a lot of them come from that hobby mindset, right? It's the fact that when you're doing a hobby, you kind of go, oh yeah, that's fun, I want to play with this and I want to do this, and that's great, right? And then we want to still have that kind of sense of fun in our business. But also, once you become a business, efficiency becomes king, because that's how you grow, and efficiency being one of my strengths. And so I hope that you and I can take and I think I did the math right here, about 67 years. If I got 23, that puts you at about 44 years of experience. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to. I know that might hurt a little bit.
Made me
But
tired to think about it.
yeah, exactly. So 67 years of combined experience, and we want to give you guys, the regulators, some gems today. So Terry, where do you think we should start this whole thing off?
Well, I think, I was kind of pondering this. We were talking about this, and thank you, Eric, by the way, for suggesting we come back to this topic.
Yep.
And so, why is training important? Aaron, do you want to jump in to start?
Yeah. There's so much you could do here, right? I'm going to let you talk about the employee side of it, and I'll
Okay.
keep on the kind of our own personal training side of it here for this part. If we're not learning, we're not growing. And success and getting to success is just about growth. It's not about overcoming failures. And then it's, can we grow? Can we get a little bit better? Can we get 5% better today? If you just focus on that, on growth, and honestly, training is a big part of that, right? So I think understanding training, understanding how to ask for help, understanding how to take what we learn and implement it, because that's the other part of training that's important that sometimes people miss out on, is the fact that, great, I'm here with the two regular guys, I'm learning all about some maybe new ideas, some sparks to how to set up a better training program or standard operating procedures or become more efficient or whatever that is. And that's all just fine and dandy, but until you actually do something to implement that into your business, then you've missed the last part of training. It's the implementation process.
Yeah.
So, ultimately, I think training as a whole is just part of the growth process. So I guess that's why it's so important to me, is that's what we're after, is growth. And so if that's the case, then training is the key to get that started. But talk to us a little bit about how also it's so important once employees or the
Sure.
people in your company too, because I know you've got a lot of experience with that.
Well, and Aaron, the production shops I've run, or the shops that I've just been on their floor as a consultant or whatever,
Yeah.
Most of them have no training at all. The training is this: new employee comes, go stand next to her and watch what she's doing, and that's training. And it drives me crazy, but it also keeps a guy like me employed,
Yeah, it's good with bad, Terry. Good with bad.
But and here's something I've discovered, and even on a production floor that looks super efficient, there's always room for improvement. There's always there, and maybe that improvement is just learning a new skill or technique for your current employees, learning what the skills and techniques we use every day for our new employees, and we could do a whole show on onboarding new employees, but let me say what it's not. It's not go stand next to her and watch what she's doing. That is not onboarding a new employee. That's making that employee think, wow, they have zero interest in me as a new employee. So
can I take, before you get too far away, can I just tell a real quick story?
Sure.
So that, when you said that, it reminded me of something that I was at this place, and that's what the training program was: go stand next to that person and just watch what they do. And what ended up happening though is, as it got busy, we ran out of people for them to stand next to. And so the person they were standing next to was a temp that had been there for one day. So they had one day experience on the person that just showed up that moment. So anyhow, it happens out there everywhere. And, and again, we didn't plan ahead enough. And so that was the training process. I was part of it. So it's real. It does happen to even people that think about this stuff on a regular
Yeah.
basis. So.
I did have an experience once in a new position. I kept asking this same woman, well, where's this, and where's that, where's the kitchen,
Yeah.
and finally, about halfway through the day, she goes, "I don't think anybody told you. I started yesterday." So,
I like it. Okay.
so I'm like, okay, well, let's discover all this together.
And there we go.
But part of it also is so that we're all on the same page. And so some training is just talking about, here's how we do this thing. And so why? Because we want continuity of what's going out the door. So that an order that comes in January 2nd and they reorder July 5th, then it's going to be exactly the same. So part of training and part of teaching the skills and the techniques of what we do on our production floor or in our offices is just having that consistency of what we're producing. And of course, it all comes back to also efficiency, being able to efficiently produce product and get it out the door. Because Aaron, and I've talked about it over the 10 years this has come up. I go in, I've gone into production shops and said, I can double your production in 30 days. And, sometimes they'll say, well, you haven't even been on my production floor. I know. I can still double your production in 30 days. And because everybody, like in a screen printing shop, everybody's got the printing down. That's the part that they don't really need help with usually. Unless they're flashing between colors. So go back to my secret sauce from a few weeks ago. And but most shops are very, very inefficient about how they get from order to UPS truck or FedEx truck or whatever truck. I don't want to discriminate against anybody.
New ground advantage with the post office.
Right, or the U.S. Postal Service. It's very, very. It's like a snake slithering through your shop and
wandering.
And so a lot of what I do in my training is just trying to get people to be much more efficient about what they do, cut out all the superfluous stuff and get down to it. And we'll talk about some training techniques here in a little bit as well. So
we'll get into that. Well, if I can kind of piggyback on that a little bit too, because here's the other part about training. Again, could be employees, could be maybe it's just you and your significant other, or you've got a helper that, because we've talked about this quite a bit on this program between you and I. Some of the guests that we've had on talked about this. There's lots of different ways to accomplish the result in our industry. Right? We can get there a lot of different ways. And sometimes there's multiple ways that are right. Sometimes it's just a Band-Aid and people forget to actually fix the problem, like you've talked about with the flashing, right? And
right.
That kind of thing, or dipping mugs in sublimation, right? We can go down those rabbit holes. But the reality of things is there's multiple ways to get things done. In your shop, there's one way that is needed to get things done based on the way your shop operates, based on the way things are set up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when you have somebody new coming in, you talked about them all being on the same page. The training part is to tell them how your shop works. But I think the part that maybe sometimes gets missed too is it's also the time to say, this is why we do it. Right? Because when you're just standing next to somebody that's been there a day longer than you, you're going, okay, I'm just going to do it. But you never answer that why question. Because as soon as you can say, oh, this is why I do it, then we'll put our effort into it because it makes sense. It's now logical, right? We go, oh, yeah, that makes sense why we do it this way, why we double check this, because that person doing that thing might not see the reason that we do it that way down the road, because maybe they're not dealing with the customers, right? Or whatever. So is there anything else you want to add on to that part of it, Terry? The why side?
Yeah, I love that. And that's always important to tell people why, because otherwise you are now a 1960s boss because I said so.
Yeah.
And because I said so, it's not a motivator. Right?
Yeah.
If anybody's out there, well, you
And
know
it
what?
didn't really work
When
in
I
the
say
60s. It's just all they had. So
I remember the 60s actually. And unlike many people, but yeah, telling people why we do it that way, then it clicks in their head that, okay, I understand why I'm doing my part in this 12-part process.
yeah.
I do part number 3, and now I understand why I do it like this. But so part number 9, their part makes more sense, So 100% agree with that. That
Yeah.
always it's why why we're doing this.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Keep going. I can
I
interrupt.
was just going to say too, and even part of training is every morning before we would start production, or certainly on Monday morning, we would have a stand-up meeting. I love stand-up meetings because no, don't get comfortable. We're only here for 5 minutes, but
Yeah.
everybody on my production floor, everybody would gather around the schedule board, and I talk about the schedule for the week, and we have to be at 100% productivity because we have a full schedule,
Mhm.
and any kind of oddball things. Hey, we have a shipment coming in of garments on Wednesday that so those garments are ready to, that's part of the schedule for Wednesday. But hey, if they don't show up, here's what we're going to do. We're going to be shifting this and that, and just have a meeting that included everybody on the production floor, so that everybody had a good understanding of what our week was going to be. And guess what? That's also where I would say, now Jim and Linda are going to be on vacation this week, so so and so is going to take their spot, and just keep people in the loop, and
Yeah.
just those kinds of things makes people who work for you out on your production floor or in your office, if you're keeping them in the loop, that makes them feel like they're part of the process. They're part of the company, part of the business. So
Yeah. It's because you were talking about, this is obviously about being on the same page here, but you also sparked something for me when you talked about, okay, maybe I'm doing step 3 and that's what I'm responsible for. But understanding the why then helps us understand how that's going to affect 9. And this can be the smallest things. I think sometimes we want to make these big, huge changes in our business. But if you just focus on even the smallest details and trying to improve those, you can make a huge difference in the overall. It all adds up. So the example, and I just happen to have a sheet here, like there's a barcode on this, right? And part of this process was, we'd have the sheet would then go into, to kind of stick out the top of the envelope that the product was put in, and then go to shipping, and then shipping would get it and they would scan the barcode and it would ship, right? But if you didn't know that shipping is scanning that barcode, you'd just shove this piece of paper down in the bag. But if you instead stick it in there where the barcode's hanging out just over the top, right, then the shipping person picks it up, scans it, pulls the sheet out, closes it, and goes. But until that person's, we'll probably talk a bit about cross training along the road, until you've been in that person that because you're going, oh, does that really matter? Is that really that big of a deal? You ship 1,000 packages where you have to take it out and try to find it and put the thing down. And if you can just grab it and go, so
right.
We'll talk about cross training where I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but yeah, that's the why stuff to me that is really important to make sure everybody's on the same page with.
Well, and Aaron, that's a very simple thing and very easy for somebody to go, oh, okay, I get it. That shipping person's got to do this, and so I just need to turn it around and put it in this way. You're right. The tiniest thing that can make everybody's life easier as it goes further down the line.
Exactly. And the other part that I guess that also helps is then that person knows they're part of the bigger picture, and they're starting to think about, okay, well, what else am I doing that might affect somebody else? Or, hey, if they're willing to say to me, just put this paper, because again, it's not a big deal for them to switch the way the paper is going in there. And so then they start thinking about, well, how can my job be easier? Can I suggest something, in step 1 or 2 that would help me? And now everybody's a part of the process of improving. And, I think that's also a crucial part of why training is so important. So,
right.
Yeah. All right. Well, Terry, I know I said I mentioned a little bit of this earlier, but I want to hear your take on this too. What if it is just me? What if I'm a solopreneur and we talked about training being important even for solopreneurs, but what if it is just me? What do I do?
Well, and you do need to have, set aside time for your own training, your own education. And guess what? Everybody who's listening to this program, either live or on a recorded podcast, you are that person. Because you are taking time, thinking, hey, if I get one nugget of good information, or I'm able to
And a
repeat
couple
the dad
laughs.
joke to someone.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But if you get one nugget of information, then that's what you're doing. You're educating yourself, and so you as an individual, and Aaron, I've talked about this so many times in the past. When I started my business, I had my degree in journalism as my guide to how to run a business, and so I assumed everybody spent time learning how to do the best they can, learning how to do different processes, learning how to be more efficient about coding and burning your screens and things like that, and that isn't the case for the majority of garment decorators out there. They don't take that time to try to learn new things, try to figure out better ways to do it, and so to be successful, we have to do that. We have to, even if it's just me. And of course, also, someday you're going to have an employee, and if you're running your shop by the seat of your pants, it's really, really difficult for them to get on board. And so you're getting frustrated with that new employee because they're not thinking about the business the way you are, and they're just wanting to know, tell me how to properly do this. Where's the document on this? Oh, it's right here. It's right here in my head.
Yeah, exactly. And it changes at my whim, right? Yeah. Yeah. Because I think that there's other value in that too, Terry, this idea of, okay, for future employee, right? That's really good to be thinking about that. So when it is time to bring somebody else on, right? If you're somebody that's having challenges with employees right now, you probably need to go back to this basic part and kind of really document what's important, what the expectations are, how you are supposed to get from point, how each of these steps affect the next, right? And that kind of thing. But the other thing that I think is really valuable here is, even if you never actually have a plan to bring on somebody else, the fact that you're thinking about it from that kind of process, step 1, step 2, steps 3, kind of idea, when you're developing your training for your business, that's going to improve your business in the way you do things, because you're going to see things and go, oh, well, yeah, I probably don't actually need to do that, right? That's wow, that's actually been a waste of time all this time. I remember some of your stories about taking the book off the shelf and putting it back on and nobody ever looking at it, that kind of thing.
Right. So, spending a lot of time recording numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
For posterity.
So, yeah, for sure. And so I'll just and I want to hear the rest of your thoughts on this too, Terry, but I've got a quick story for me personally, not necessarily decorating related, but when I first started playing volleyball, I was late in my high school. It was really in college by the time I really started playing volleyball with the passion that I had for it. And I know you guys are going to laugh, but I was actually athletic. But that was it, right? I had no real understanding of the game. I didn't know techniques or, I just got away with being athletic. And then I was trying to kind of mimic the other people that I saw. The thing that helped me get to a point where I was actually very proficient with it had nothing to do with, I didn't go get extra training or whatever. I actually volunteered to become a coach for a youth team. And in that moment of, right, I knew that I knew more than those 12-year-olds, barely anymore, but just enough more. And so that made me start thinking, okay, how am I going to teach them how to play volleyball? And as I started thinking about that, then I said, well, maybe I should think a little bit more about how I'm doing it, right? Could I make myself better? And so just that sheer art of, or act of trying to teach somebody else, or at least preparing to teach somebody else, made me a much better volleyball player. And that then led me to a place where, I had a potential career, just beer got in the way. So, but
volleyball's not like softball, but beer's part of it, right?
yeah, I thought so, but apparently at the higher levels, it's not. But boy, it was a fun social sport. You went to one of my Christmas parties, so
I did indeed.
so anyhow, yeah, that whole concept too of just the act of thinking about it, the act of trying to, how am I going to teach this to somebody else, is going to improve your skills.
Yeah, I think all of us have done this, where you get so caught up in getting stuff out the door that you don't take that time, you don't block out that time to think about how could I do this better. And I tell people in my screen printing classes, a lot of what I'm talking about here is me standing in the middle of my production floor, scratching my head, going, "There's got to be a better way to do this." And we all need to be that person. I've talked about here before. Everybody needs to be their own consultant. Where I was in a shop one time, and I had my 40-page report. I'd been there for 2 weeks, and the owner said, "Well, Terry, we already know 80% of this." And I'm like, "I know, but you've just never done anything about it." And so you paid me to come and remind you, "Hey, you already know this. You need to start doing this. You need to start being more efficient about what you do." And that means you as a entrepreneur, it's just me and one other person. You still need to take a step back, think about how things are processed and how things are done, and get more efficient at it. And there's always room for improvement. No matter how efficient you believe you are, there's always room for some kind of improvement.
Yeah. I talk about that kind of thing all the time. In fact, people that follow me sometimes might be a little sick of it, but it's the concept of, you got to spend some time working on your business, right? This kind of thinking about training, looking at your processes, this is working on your business, instead of always working in it, just doing the things. We've got to do the things to get it done. So what I always say is, of all of the time that you have to devote to your business, take 15% of that. That's all, right? You still have the whole other 85% to do all of the in type projects. You don't just pick out 15% of that time and focus on, can I improve my operating procedures? Can I improve training? Think about the future potential, do a business plan, all these types of projects. And I think, again, there's so much value in this beyond just I can now train a new employee.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're kind of at a quick breaking point because we do want to get a little bit more into kind of we talked some training. I know we got into standard operating procedures, but I think we want to go a little bit deeper into that and some more practical applications here. Is that kind of where we're heading, Terry?
Yeah, absolutely. I think,
okay.
Let's take a commercial break and jump back in.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hi, I'm Lewis Montgomery. I want to tell you all about my dad's new book, The Fundamentals of Business Success. He wrote it to help small business owners like you fall in love with your business.
Hey, thank you, Lewis. Yes, that's right. I was just tired of watching these small businesses be overwhelmed, just struggling, and ultimately underpaid because they just didn't have a strong foundation to build off of. They were trying to create their business the way somebody else created their business, and they were never going to catch up.
It's not just about making money. It's about having fun and building something you're truly passionate about. My dad's new book breaks down everything into a 13-step cycle with plenty of practical applications so you can start taking action right away. Grab your copy at OurSuccessGroup.com/FBS book. Whether you're just starting out or looking to spice things up in your current business, this book will become your guide. Don't miss out on your chance to get this book at the introductory price, only available at OurSuccessGroup.com/FBS book.
And take a look at my new book on Amazon, Beer Bait Barbecue.
There you go. I've got that. Just do a video, Terry. You can be that promo spot. I love it. And I have to remind myself that that kid's only 12, so I'm super proud of him.
Good job, Lewis. I always smile when I see him come on and do that.
I appreciate that you smile. That makes me smile too. All right. Well, Terry, let's get back into this here. Like I said, we've hit on these things a little bit, but processes, standard operating procedure, SOPs, right? Some people might go, what is that? It's just a standard operating procedure. Why are these so important to us as well on top of the training?
Well, I think that once you have found, as far as today is in your
Yeah.
business, the most efficient way to do things, or the best way to have less spoilage, or the best way to get
Mm.
the absolute best product out
Yeah.
the door. Because hey, I can teach people to go really really fast, but there's also 10% spoilage when I'm going really really fast. So, but once you have decided this is the best way to do this, then a standard operating procedure is your repeatability, and you know, and you can always see in a company where they've documented this, but it's a little dusty booklet,
I love that.
you know,
Nice.
and start drifting away. And so having this documented, it's a good way to bring you back. I think that back to the way that at that point in time you determine this is the best way to do this. And hey, this is not set in stone.
Yeah.
This is a fluid thing.
Yep.
All of a
Ever
sudden
evolving.
there's new opportunities out there, and new products and new techniques that you learn. And gosh, and again, in my screen printing classes, I'll have somebody raise their hand and say, well, I started doing something like this, and I'm like, that's an awesome idea. And I'm not locked into, well, 40 years ago, this is how I set this up, and I'm not changing. I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
love that. I'm gonna give you credit for it the next class. Aaron, you and I've said this before. I'm
Yeah.
giving you credit the next class. The one after that, it's my idea.
It's
So
my idea.
thank you
Yeah,
for that.
that's right. That's right. I love it. Speaking along these lines, much earlier comment from Ramona. She had worked at Mickey D's before. I don't know if you can find that. I put a star in it there. Yeah, there we go. Back 100 years ago or so. Probably a little less than that, Ramona. I used to work at McDonald's. They trained so that the cheeseburger you got here in Illinois will be the same that you get in Washington. So the expectation of the product is always the same. Shop training is the same idea. And
Yeah.
so I think that's you're exactly right. That repeatability that you just mentioned there, Terry.
Yeah, exactly right. So,
Yep.
and I love that example. But and Aaron, going through our notes here, you had said, what about typical excuses for skipping the training, or slipping out of our procedures? What's
Or
your
not
take
even
on
doing them, going, oh yeah, they're right here, or right. This just gonna, I got to get stuff done, right? So I don't have time for making a process or doing training. So yeah, I'm curious, what have been some of the typical excuses, and then most importantly, what's been your rebuttal to that?
Well, and first of all, I say, you need to have a 15-minute training session every Monday morning. Why Monday? Because on Friday you're like, oh, I got to get stuff out the door. But let me give you another example of a standard operating procedure run amok. When I was in Kansas City, Jones Mitchell Sportswear, it took me a long time to get all the processes and procedures, and to get all the employees to buy in. We were printing shirts for the NCAA national championship game in basketball. And of course, the game ended at like 9 o'clock at night. And and so we started printing at 9:05 and printed all night. And the owner of the company said, I'm going to come in and help. Thank you for coming in and help. Meaning you're going to walk around and distract people from what they're doing, because you had no concept of how you could help. And our one of the rules was our quality control manager could stop any production run. I mean, when she said stop, didn't matter. Everybody had to stop what they were doing, because somehow the image was starting to deviate. There was a color shift or something like that. And she said, stop the presses. And the owner came over and said, oh, that's good enough. This order is only going to a grocery store. And it was the most devastating thing that happened in my shop. It took me months to straighten it out, because after that, every time that the quality control manager said stop, the press operator would keep going, saying, hey, I think this was only going to a grocery store. It's cool. And and it wasn't so much that they wanted to override what she was doing. It's that they were so offended that the quality of their work didn't matter anymore. It was I went into his office the next day and said, "Don't ever come onto my production floor and say something like that." He's like, what happened? And I'm like, oh my gosh, we have this work culture there of quality. And it doesn't matter if it's going to a bookstore or if it's just going to the Hy-Vee grocery store rack. It's all about quality. And when you come out and make a comment that the quality doesn't matter, it destroyed everything that I'd been working for there for a year. So anyway, that was a long aside story. Sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. That's good. Just real quick, I want to touch on a couple other things that were said by the regulators over here. Jan says good stuff. Thank you, Jan. Ramona says, I used to write SOPs. It helps me putting together processes and workflows, right? And again, it's just about stepping back and looking at it like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Could this be done differently? Or can we, arrange things so it's more efficient? You were talking earlier, Terry, about how things kind of just meander, right? Just saving the steps. I mean, I use the example of for the direct to garment printers out there. If you're standing in front of that direct to garment printer and you take the shirt off of the front of it, right? If you're just standing in front of it, you take the shirt off the front of it, like without doing anything kind of weird to it, right? Flipping your hands over. Now all of a sudden you're holding this shirt with the ink facing away from you, and you somehow have to get that onto a heat press like that. So you're doing this like weird flip thing or whatever. And so just changing to go like this. So now you can lay it onto a heat press. I mean, those are the types of things that I want people to look for when we're talking about this. And so I guess when I hear the excuses of I don't have time or, those types of things, then my rebuttal is you don't have time not to do this, right? You're going to create too much spoilage. Another example of the place where, we had temps, training temps, kind of thing. You said, 10% spoilage rate. I'm like, oh, that was nothing. At one point during the peak of their season, there was a 30% spoilage rate.
Oh my gosh.
30%.
That sounds like all the profit.
Yeah. all of the local like animal shelters and homeless facilities and stuff like that, they loved it because they were getting bags and bags of blankets every day. But as somebody who knew what the reality was, 30% was pretty rough. So to me, the thing is, if we don't do these things, if we don't train our employees, if we don't look at our processes, you're going to have things like that spoilage that you can't just getting your time back by making a small move. I always kind of joke in some of the seminars I talk about this stuff is, has anybody here ever spent any time looking for scissors in their shop? And everybody's like, ha, ha, ha. Like, yeah, I know we're laughing about it, but the reality is go to Amazon and spend $20 on a 4-pack of scissors and stick them in strategic places and make sure that that's part of the process to put them back. Yeah. How much time is that going to save you? So, I wrote this in the notes, Terry, but I don't know if I have it exactly right, but I think it was Peter Drucker that maybe said this. Somebody that said, basically, what happens if I train my employees and they leave versus what happens if you don't train them and they stay? Right?
That one makes my head explode. Because first of all, I don't want to share my secrets. Okay, you don't have any. You don't have any secrets. Let me just tell you right now.
Yeah.
But here's the part that people don't get. Yes, you know what? Employees do leave. Sometimes they go to your competition. Sometimes they go out and start their own businesses. But guess what? When you have a well-trained staff, when that employee leaves, and maybe they leave because, hey, I want to go find myself, and I'm going to buy a van. I'm going to go out and paint. Some people leave. If you have a well-trained staff, you don't skip a beat. That's the key here. If John over here is the only one who knows how to code a screen and John leaves, it's panic time. Yeah. But if you're well-trained and have a program of cross training, it's painful when people leave, but product is still going out the door, and you're not, well, I was at a place once where one of the tech people left. There was nobody to step into the place. It was panic time, trying to think of all the tech people that the company knew in the past that you could call up and say, hey, I'm going to offer you a lot of money. Can you start today?
Yeah.
So,
You've got me panicked right now, though, Terry. So
do what now?
You've got me panicked. If Eric leaves, we're in trouble.
Yeah, because I've only pushed the buttons once in 10 years. So it's Eric can't leave. It's just, sorry, Eric.
We do not accept your resignation. I'm sorry.
Right. I'm sorry, I did not accept it.
This is not accepted. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just that you really did spark something in me, though. I'm like, oh man, maybe we should document some of this stuff. Huh, weird.
It's easy to talk about it, and then well, what are we doing in our own backyard?
Yeah, exactly. Ramona says you better give him a raise. Yeah. Well, I bought him a
double
drink
what you're getting now, Eric.
Yeah, we just doubled your salary. All right, real quick, Jan had said even a one-man band needs to have SOPs, standard operating procedures. And then she also said have the owner operator for business review your SOPs at least once a year. Walk yourself through your business, see if it makes sense. And I'm going to jump ahead and just play off of that real quick, Terry, if that's okay, in our list here, because I 100% agree with that. I think you need to, here's what I would suggest. Every business has got a peak season, right? It may not be as crazy as some of the holiday gift kind of places where like it goes like this and then all of a sudden it's this massive hockey stick kind of look, but you're going to have somewhere in your business that is a peak season. Typically what I would do is say, use that peak season as an opportunity to really kind of put those SOPs to the test. During the peak season, be making notes of different things that you can potentially improve, where the bottlenecks were, but don't do anything with it, right? I think a lot of times we kind of are really reactive to these things. And I think sometimes it's better to just leave certain things and go, okay, yep, that's on the list. We're going to come back to that. Take a break from the peak season, celebrate, a little rest and relaxation, and then immediately right away start going, okay, let's look at the SOPs. How can we improve things? What out of this list of areas that we could improve, what's going to give us the most bang for our buck over the until the, when we get to the next peak season, right? And then kind of, and that's that cycle of success, that continuous growth that I was talking about earlier, is by stepping back, working on the business a little bit more often, it allows you to see where you can make improvements and gain efficiencies. So talk to us. Yeah, go ahead.
Aaron, when and maybe sometime you want to sell that business. Okay, I've made a lot of money, or I've made a little bit of money, but maybe you want to sell that business. Then, at the last minute when that new person says, "Yeah, I'd like to buy it," then you're scrambling on making notes of how things are done. Well, if you already have that, that's a much easier sale, and that person that's looking to buy your business is going to feel way better about it if it's all documented. This is how you sublimate on Chromolux, and with the temperatures and the times and the pro tips. I always like to put in the pro tips. Here's well, your pro tip is do not dip that coffee mug in water.
It's going to be the one big pro tip on my
Why is this in red?
It's bold. Looks like
I'll know you're doing it. When I'm gone, I'll know you've done it.
That's right. All right. Well, let's see here. So Ramona's got a comment that I want to bring in here. If you have staff, have them walk through the SOP and jot notes of suggestions or improvements. I 100% agree with that. I'll even take that one step further. If you've got staff in there currently and you don't have SOPs, work with them to build this out, right? Because that's going to make them feel like they have autonomy to the process. They're going to take more ownership of it. B, it's going to help you see any blind spots for where you didn't give them enough information as to why they're doing it or how that might affect something else down the process, right? So yeah, including the people that are going to be involved or are already involved, I think is a really good point for sure. Terry, any other thoughts on that?
Well, yeah. Who knows more about getting product out your door than your employees who are doing it? Who knows more about what's tripping them up than the employees actually doing it?
Yeah.
And in our notes here, you've noted buy them lunch, and that's a biggie for me. Bring in pizza one day, and everybody's in one room, and say, okay, we're going to go around the room. Jim, tell me one thing that would make your job easier. And some of them are going to make some kind of joke, or yeah, if I only had to work 3 days a week. But then you're going to start getting real suggestions. Okay, well, what, every day I have to deal with this issue, and so what can we do to fix that? Now here's the rub of all this. You're there with your junior yellow legal pad, and you're writing all this down. The things that you implement, you have to say, hey, thanks for bringing this up. Here's how we've changed it. The things you don't do, you also have to say, okay, well, you suggested we do this. We're not going to do that, or we're not going to do that right now, but here's why. Here's why we're not going to do that, because it affects something else over here. Or if you just write all this down and then nobody ever hears about it again, then the offers of suggestions will end right there. Oh, that was just a show that we matter. We obviously don't matter, because I never heard another word about any of those suggestions. So
it's
I'm
like you said,
I'm a big proponent of having your employees help you be a more efficient decorator or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, 100%. And I love that you mentioned that part, right? That you do have to take that next step, because you can give your employees, give the people working with you the lip service all you want, until you actually follow that up with action. Like you said, even if it's inaction, explaining why, that's still action, right? But we
exactly,
we need to kind of have that next step. And sometimes, again, it's easier to just go, okay, I wrote it all down. What? I wrote it down. What? Why are you so upset? Right?
It's here. Here it is.
And then you do the thing where you go blow the dust off of it. Yeah. Hey, Terry. Okay, we're coming down to the end of our time here, but I'd love for you to just kind of close this up with your this concept. And I don't know if you talk about it enough. Maybe you do, and I'm just not around because I've heard the story already, and you're trying to keep me from that. But this concept of 5215, I know that was a big thing for you in a lot of places. So tell us about that real quick to close.
5215, simply this: 52 weeks, 15 minutes every Monday morning. And yes, I know we've got product to get out the door. We're going to take 15 minutes, the whole crew, and we're going to be educated on one subject. Maybe it's squeegees, and we're going to talk about soft squeegees, medium squeegees, hard squeegees, and what we do with each one of those, why it's important. Next week, we're going to talk about ink mixing and why that's important. Next week, we're going to go into the screen room, and we're going to watch our screen room manager code a screen and actually burn the screen. We're going to watch that happen. And that screen room manager is going to talk about, okay, but here's an issue that we sometimes have. When the art comes back in the folder, sometimes it doesn't have this note or this this information. But over a year's time, everybody in your company is going to have a better understanding about what you do in your business and how you do it and why you do it. And it seems like a little thing to spend 15 minutes talking about squeegees and what the differences are. But guess what? When the time comes and, hey, we've never printed puff before, but we're going to start printing puff ink, and everybody in the room goes, well, we need a soft squeegee to do that with, because it's going to lay the ink right on top of the shirt. So we have these very, very educated employees, and maybe they do go off to another place and share that information, or maybe they do start their own business. But if it goes a step further too, Aaron, the taking that time to educate your employees on processes and products and things like that shows that you have interest. You're investing all that time and money into those employees as well. And but you're like, well, hey, I don't like to get up in front of people and talk about this or that. And,
Yeah.
you can assign the squeegees to your production manager, one of your press operators, and kind of give them a little guidance, have an outline of how this process works. You can have your suppliers. You think one of your suppliers won't come in and talk to your entire crew about emulsion and the different types of emulsion? Absolutely. They will knock down the door to come in and help you with those things. So 5215, take 15 minutes every Monday morning and do some type of education, no matter how big. And it doesn't have to be 15 minutes. Maybe it's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But do that. And I like to have everybody have a notebook that they can have a sheet that they can fill out as you go along. What are the steps in this process? And they fill out that sheet, and they've got that they can take with them and refer back to. So
yeah, for sure. I love it. And just to kind of close that thought there too, because if you think about it, 15 minutes once a week, not a big deal, right? I mean, that doesn't really cause any grief or pain. But when you add that up, you've just spent 13 hours training your employees. So if you have employees, that's a day and a half of going, right?
Yeah.
Not that you shouldn't go to Terry's class, but in between going to Terry's class, there's another 13 hours of training that people can have. So I love that. Okay, so Ryan says, listening to you guys while on vacation in Treasure Island, Florida. Keep up the great work. I love that we're vacation ready as well. Not just
like a good book.
Yeah, that's right. Not just for good information, but vacation ready as well. And then Jan says, knowledge is power. Love that 5215 sounds like a police code. There you go. And then Ramona says, and the 15 minutes is up to date and current event relevant. So
exactly.
In the moment. Love it. All right, Terry. Well, let me, before we get to the secret sauce here, we got a couple things on our kind of big books of travels or upcoming events here. So I'm going to jump in first today and just tell you guys, coming up way sooner than we think, October 18th through the 20th in Atlanta, Georgia, Printing United is upon us. I'm actually going to be speaking there. I've got 2 sessions I'll be teaching. Wednesday, October 18th at 2 p.m. Pricing for profit, strategies for setting pricing that work for your business, not somebody else's business that's in the Facebook group that you happen to belong to, that kind of thing. And then on Thursday, the next day, October 19th at noon, I'll be talking about building a strong marketing foundation, the key elements for attracting your ideal clients, and that those ideal clients are not everybody with money in their wallet. They're the ones you want to work with. So I'm excited to share that with folks out there. I'm also really excited to announce a new weekly show that I'm going to be part of here called OSG Live. It's going to be happening on Wednesday mornings at 7 a.m. And next Wednesday is going to be the first episode. And then you can watch it there anytime. It's a collaboration with my wife, actually, and 2 members of Masters of Success, Tanya Deutscher and Becky Kotzer. And they are integral parts to the OSG community, and they understand the mindset needed for success. So we've built this program, and I'm super excited about it. And so if you guys want to tune in, you can go to liveosg.com this upcoming Wednesday morning, or watch it anytime thereafter. And that'll be happening every Wednesday morning from there. Lewis already talked to us about the book, so I appreciate those of you that have gone out and purchased the book. If you haven't yet, oursuccessgroup.com/FBS book is where you can find that at. Whew. Terry, what's in your book of travel here as you round out the year?
Well, my complete screen printing business course, I'm going to be at Workhorse Products this weekend, but that class is sold out. So next available will be December 9th and 10th here in Phoenix. My next Chicago class will be at Atlas Screen Supply in 2024. Right now, working on the 2024 Big Book of Travel. So we'll be building out that schedule. So I'll let you know when I'm going to be in Chicago again. Aaron, also, I'm going to be in the Equipment Zone booth at the Printing United. So come by there and see me. Nice. We also are going to be, Equipment Zone, along with Epson, will be in the Apparel Zone, where live demonstrations are going on. No selling, live demonstrations all day, every day. And we're going to have I'm going to be doing my everything that you've heard about DTG printing on the internet is wrong. On the first day of the show, we're going to have a panel discussion on the second day of the show. And on the third day, Jay Bazell is going to be talking about marketing your DTG products. So watch for all my upcoming events on terrycombs.com. And Aaron, you're going to do
yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing you out there. Abby, thank you for the safe travels. Yep, we're excited to get out on the road here. All right, so Eric, today is episode 169, talking about Impressions Expo Fort Worth, what was new and most asked questions there. He's going to be wrapping up his trade show training season with a quick discussion. Quick, I think, is being used in air quotes there.
I don't think that's appropriate.
Yeah. Can we
Eric use such a phrase?
Sorry, Eric. I'm just kidding. All right. So a quick discussion about his experience educating on the show floor at Impressions Expo, including the decorations and equipment that had people buzzing, and the questions the attendees and friends were asking about embroidery, digitizing, and more. So if you want to join, definitely worth joining. Get over there. This will be a great conversation. 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time, and you can ask questions there, share, be part of the conversation. Just head to ericcampbell.com and click the Take Up tab at the top for all of the episodes, and you can see it right there. You also hit the bit.ly link that you see on the bottom of the screen, bit.ly.com/the Take Up 169. That's the episode that's happening today. So, Terry, secret sauce time, man. I'm hungry. I'm starving for some sauce here. So you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do some secret sauce. All right. Today's secret sauce is ink mixing systems for screen printers. If you're a screen printer, this customer will be walking through your door if they haven't already. I have a lawn tractor business and I sell John Deere lawn tractors. I need to order some shirts and I want Tony's lawn tractors printed in big John Deere green letters. John Deere green is it's not just a country song. It's a color. And if you're buying it from your local supplier, they'll even mix up John Deere green for you. But here's the rub, and we've all done this. We've all dealt with this. Tony only wants 12 shirts. You don't want to mix up ink for this order. You don't know if Tony's going to be in business next year. There's no guarantee that he's going to come back and ever order more shirts. So if it's me, I don't want to buy a quart of John Deere green ink and leave it on my shelf and hope that someday Tony's going to come back and order shirts. So that's where an ink mixing system comes into play. Every ink manufacturer makes an ink mixing system. A starter set's going to cost you about $150. Plus, you'll need to buy empty ink containers, a gram scale, and the system's also going to come with software so that you can match any PMS, Pantone matching system number, in any amount. So for Tony's lawn tractors, I'm making just a pint of John Deere green. So on my computer, I'll enter the PMS number, which for John Deere green happens to be PMS 364, and how much I want to make. So I'm going to just make a quart. I place an empty ink container on the scale. I zero it out so that it's not showing the weight of the container. And then I start just adding the ingredients from the formula that comes into the container, that the formula I'm going to see on my screen. I'm going to stir it all up. And there it is, John Deere green for Tony's 12 shirts. So every college and high school mascot, every corporate logo has specific PMS colors that you have to match. Coming close to the Arizona State maroon is never good enough. It has to be the exact PMS match, or the product's going to be coming back to you. So for trademarked logos, the right PMS color isn't an option, it's required. So, when I was a collegiate printer, every ink on my shelf was an exact PMS match for that particular university. So for a small amount of money, your shop can rise to the next level by offering PMS color matches for your customers. My secret sauce this week: reach out to your supplier and buy a complete ink matching system.
All right. That was
right.
delicious, Jerry. But
You know, Aaron, I did have to go back and make a list of all the ones I've done already because I thought, wait, did I already do this or was I just thinking about doing this? So I have a log now.
Hey, we have to get a process, right? That's part of our standard operating procedure.
Exactly.
Get a list of what's out there. And if you guys are interested, just head over to the YouTube channel, find Two Regular Guys podcast on YouTube. We actually have broken out the secret sauces as their own individual clips as well. I've got a couple I've got to catch up with here for the last couple of weeks, including today's, but they'll be up there. Plus the news segments are broken out in those little clips as well. But then you can just go back and watch the whole thing as on top of that. So Terry, what a great show today, man. I had such a blast. Thanks again to Eric for his suggestion here to come back to this. I think we may even have a little bit more left in the tank on this one. So if we ever need it, it's there for us. But really appreciate this opportunity to have that conversation with you, Terry. Good job.
Absolutely. Good job with you as well. And thanks, Eric, also for you contributing your dad joke. It was awesome. And for keeping us on track and on the air every week and double salary that you got here during the show.
He got a raise. Let's give him a congratulatory celebration. Poor Eric. All right, Terry. Well, 200 times. Oh, okay. We're doing the math. I got you. So Terry, next week we've got Cassie Green joining us from The Apparelist, and not only to give us the news, she's going to be pulling double duty. She's going to be here talking about kind of what they're reporting on over there at Apparelist trends and kind of leading up into Printing United here. Lots of buzz and excitement around that right now from everything we're seeing. So we're going to get the inside scoop from Cassie, and I can't wait to have that conversation with her. Cassie's such an amazing person. So spending extra time with her.
Great guest. It'll be nice to have her on for 40 minutes instead of 3. So
yeah, exactly. Well, and plus we get the bonus 3 at the beginning. So because I'm telling her she's got to still bring the news. So sorry, Cassie, there's no time off. So
all right. Until then, I'm Terry Combs. He's Aaron Montgomery.
And that was the Two Regular Guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to Two Regular Guys. Check out our website at tworegularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/tworegularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/tworegularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, tworegularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.